Why do some people seem to handle workplace stress with such emotional clarity while others of us just disappear inside ourselves? The answer lies in something called trait versus state mindfulness, and it explains why you might feel like you're naturally bad at expressing emotions. But here's the good news. Research shows that even if you're not naturally mindful, you can develop these regulation skills through specific practices that work with your nervous system, not against it. What if I told you that your biggest career obstacle isn't your skills or experience, but something you do automatically every day without realizing it? I'm talking about emotional suppression, and it's become the silent epidemic in offices everywhere. You probably do it without thinking. Someone criticizes your work and you just nod. Your boss piles on another urgent project and you smile and say, sure. You feel frustrated in a meeting, but you stay quiet because speaking up feels too risky. This response has become the default for so many professionals, especially women in demanding careers. We've learned that keeping our emotions locked down is what professional success looks like. But here's what nobody talks about. This strategy comes with hidden costs that can derail your career in ways you never expected. Let me give you some real examples of what this looks like. You're in a team meeting where someone takes credit for your idea. Your chest tightens and your stomach drops, but instead of speaking up, you freeze. The words just won't come. Or maybe you're in a performance review where your manager gives you feedback that feels unfair. Your throat closes up and suddenly you can't find any words to defend yourself. You walk out feeling defeated and frustrated with yourself for not advocating for your own interests. These moments of emotional shutdown don't just feel bad in the moment. They're actually rewiring your brain in ways that make expressing emotions harder over time. When you repeatedly suppress your feelings, you're training your amygdala to treat emotions as threats. Your brain starts to see any emotional response as dangerous, so it shuts down faster and more completely each time. What feels like maintaining professional composure is actually teaching your nervous system to be hypervigilant. Your brain becomes so focused on scanning for emotional threats that it loses the ability to process feelings in a healthy way. This creates a vicious cycle where you become less and less articulate about your needs and boundaries. The less you can express what you need, the more stress builds up, and the more your system shuts down to protect you. Here's something most people don't realize. Your nervous system is designed to feel first and think second. Emotions are supposed to give you information about your environment and your needs, but we've trained ourselves to do the opposite. We try to think our way through emotional situations and skip right past what our feelings are trying to tell us. When you suppress emotions repeatedly, you're not just hiding feelings from others. You're disconnecting from your own internal guidance system. Your body sends you signals through emotions, but if you've trained yourself to ignore those signals, you lose access to crucial information about what you need and what boundaries you should set. This disconnection shows up in your work relationships too. When you can't express your emotions appropriately, people around you start to see you as hard to read or unpredictable. They don't know where you stand or what you need from them. This makes collaboration harder and can limit your opportunities for leadership roles where emotional intelligence is essential. The physical toll is real too. When you constantly suppress emotions, your nervous system stays activated even when the stressful situation is over. Your body holds on to that tension, leading to headaches, muscle pain, and exhaustion that follows you home from work. But here's what I want you to understand. Recognizing this pattern is actually the first step toward changing it. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, which means it can form new neural pathways throughout your life. The same brain that learned to shut down emotionally can learn to process and express feelings in healthy ways. The key is working with your nervous system instead of against it. Instead of trying to control your emotions through willpower, you can learn to regulate them through awareness and specific techniques that help your brain feel safe with emotional expression. This isn't about becoming more emotional at work. It's about developing the skills to access your emotions when you need them and express them in ways that serve your professional goals. Here's something that might surprise you. Your emotions are already perfectly articulated, just not in the way you think. Right now, as you're watching this, your body is constantly sending you detailed information about how you feel. The problem is that most of us have never learned to listen to this internal language. Let me explain what I mean. Every emotion you experience starts as a physical sensation in your body before your mind gets involved and labels it as anger, sadness, or anxiety. Your heart rate changes, your muscles tense or relax, your breathing shifts, and your stomach might tighten or flutter. These aren't side effects of emotions. They are your emotions in their purest form before your brain tries to make sense of them. But here's what most people do wrong. We skip right past these bodily signals and jump straight to mental analysis. You might notice you feel upset about something at work, but instead of checking in with what's happening in your chest or shoulders, you immediately start thinking about why you're upset, what you should do about it, or whether you should feel this way at all. By doing this, you're missing crucial information that your body is trying to give you. This ability to sense what's happening inside your body is called interoception. It includes noticing your heartbeat, feeling muscle tension, sensing changes in your breathing, and picking up on stomach sensations. Some people are naturally better at this than others, but everyone can improve with practice. What's fascinating is how this works in your brain. You have two brain regions called the insular and anterior cingulate cortex that work together to process these internal body signals. The insula takes information from all over your body and creates a map of your internal state. The anterior cingulate cortex helps you make sense of these signals and connect them to emotions and thoughts. People who are better at sensing these internal body signals have something interesting in common. They can describe their emotions with much more precision. Instead of just saying they feel bad, they can tell you they feel frustrated with a hint of disappointment and some underlying worry. This precise emotional vocabulary isn't just nice to have, it gives them better stress resilience and helps them make decisions that align with what they actually need. The really exciting part is that mindfulness practices literally strengthen these brain regions. When you spend time paying attention to body sensations, you're building up the insular and anterior cingulate cortex like you would build muscle at the gym. The more you practice, the stronger your ability becomes to read your body's signals and translate them into clear emotional understanding. And let me give you some practical examples of what this looks like. Anxiety often shows up as a tight feeling in your chest, maybe with some shallow breathing. Overwhelm might feel like heavy shoulders or a sense of pressure behind your eyes. Frustration often comes with clenched jaw muscles and faster breathing. When you learn to recognize these body patterns, you get early warning signals about your emotional state before it builds up and becomes harder to manage. This is why people who practice body awareness seem to handle workplace stress so much better. They're not necessarily dealing with less stress than you are. They're just getting information about their emotional state much earlier in the process, when it's easier to respond skillfully rather than react automatically. When you tune into your body first, you give yourself a huge advantage in understanding and articulating your emotions. Instead of being surprised by sudden anger or unexpected tears, you start to notice the early physical signs that emotions are building. This awareness creates space between the feeling and your response, where you can choose how to express what you're experiencing. Your body is constantly giving you detailed updates about your emotional state. So the question is whether you're listening. Learning to pay attention to these signals transforms how you understand yourself and gives you the foundation for expressing emotions clearly and appropriately in any situation. What if you could shift from emotional shutdown to clear communication in less time than it takes to grab a coffee? I want you to understand something important about emotional skills. There's a big difference between trait mindfulness and state mindfulness, and this difference changes everything about how you can improve your emotional expression. Trait mindfulness is what some people seem to have naturally. These are the people who always seem to know how they feel and can express it clearly. They appear calm under pressure and handle difficult conversations with ease. State mindfulness is different. It's a skill you can develop through specific practices. even if you don't consider yourself naturally emotionally aware. That common belief that some people are just naturally better at handling emotions while others are stuck is not true. Research shows that even people who are new to mindfulness can activate the same brain regions as experienced practitioners when they use specific techniques. You don't need years of meditation practice to start changing how your brain processes emotions. Let me give you something practical you can use right away. I call them micro practices because they're brief body awareness exercises that you can do anywhere, anytime. These aren't long meditation sessions. We're talking about 2-minute resets that fit into your busy workday without anyone even knowing you're doing them. Here's the specific technique I want you to try. First, pause whatever you're doing. This pause can be as brief as 3 seconds or as long as a minute, depending on your situation. Second, scan your body for physical sensations. Start at the top of your head and quickly move down to your feet, noticing areas of tension, warmth, tightness, or relaxation. Third, name what you notice without judging it. You might say to yourself something like tight shoulders, shallow breathing, warm face, or heavy chest, clenched jaw, fidgety hands. Fourth, choose your response based on this information rather than reacting automatically. The research behind this technique is really encouraging. Studies show that even brief mindfulness practices can reduce activity in your amygdala, which is the brain region that triggers fight or flight responses. When your amygdala is less reactive, you have better access to the parts of your brain that handle clear thinking and emotional regulation. This happens even if you've never practiced mindfulness before. What gets me excited about these micro practices is how they create changes in your brain's emotion regulation networks over time. Each time you do this 2-minute reset, you're strengthening the connections between your body awareness centers and your emotional processing areas. It's like you're building new pathways that help you access your emotions more easily and express them more clearly. Let me show you how this works in real workplace situations. Before you walk into a difficult conversation with your boss, take 2 minutes to scan your body. Notice if your stomach is tight or your shoulders are raised. Name these sensations and use this information to ground yourself before the conversation starts. During stressful meetings, you can do quick body scans while others are talking. When you receive challenging feedback, pause and check in with your physical response before you react. I want you to think about cultural considerations too. Different professional environments have different norms for emotional expression. Some workplaces welcome open communication about feelings, while others expect more reserved responses. The beauty of this technique is that it helps you choose appropriate responses rather than shutting down completely. You're not trying to express every emotion you feel. You're developing the skill to access your emotions when you need them and express them in ways that fit your workplace culture. What I've seen happen with people who practice these micro resets consistently is amazing. Their default response shifts from automatic suppression to skillful awareness. They stop feeling surprised by their emotions because they're getting early warning signals from their body. They become more articulate about their needs because they have better access to what they're actually feeling. This isn't about becoming more emotional at work. It's about developing emotional intelligence that serves your professional goals and helps you communicate more effectively in any situation. I want you to understand something important about emotional regulation. It's not about controlling your feelings or pushing them down. It's about developing a skillful relationship with your emotions through your body's wisdom. Your body is already telling you everything you need to know about how you feel. You just need to learn how to listen. Before your next challenging work interaction, try that 2-minute body scan technique I showed you. Notice the difference it makes in how you show up and communicate. Every moment when you feel yourself shutting down emotionally is actually an opportunity to practice reconnection with yourself.